Grover the Otter and the Spooky Podcast. Grover, the podcasting otter, is always on the hunt for new and intriguing podcasts to engage his ever-curious mind. One sleepless night leads him down a rabbit hole so deep and eerie that it consumes his every thought. Albert the Owl's Spooky Tales quickly becomes Grover's favorite podcast. He's captivated by tales of Bigfoot, recent UFO sightings, and numerous ghost stories. Convinced that his podcast is an undiscovered gem, Grover is determined to boost its popularity. In this episode, our podcasting otter dons his marketing hat. However, he ends up learning a valuable lesson about tastes and perspectives. As the sun sets behind the towering mountain that overlooks Grover's town, stars begin to sprinkle the night sky. Grover concludes another fulfilling day of podcasting. But as Grover turns off the lights and settles into bed, it seems like everything is troubling him. One moment he's too hot, and the next he's too cold. He tosses and turns for over an hour before finally deciding to get out of bed. Why stay in bed when I can't even keep my eyes shut? Grover thinks to himself as he rises. The otter grabs his phone and taps on his podcast app. Everything is quiet, just as he left it a little while ago. But wait, there's one podcast named Spooky Tales with a bright flashing sign that says live. Who's broadcasting live so late? Grover thinks. This must be something special. The podcast has just started, and the curious otter listens intently. The host, Albert the Owl, is eager to unravel a mystery for his listeners, and Grover is captivated from the very first minute. Albert, a true night owl of the forest, claims that when the sun goes down, all sorts of things transpire among the trees. Albert even takes calls, allowing his audience to share their stories. They recount ghost tales, UFO sightings, and much more. However, what truly captures Albert's attention are any clues that might help solve his greatest mystery: finding Bigfoot. I saw him a year ago, folks, with my own 2 eyes. I remember it as if it were yesterday. Now I go out every night looking around, but he must be avoiding me. So please, if you see anything, call in and spare no detail. Albert breaks down all his evidence and shares his opinions, and Grover can't get enough of it. The curious otter is eager to learn more, and he even begins to form his own theories and explanations. As soon as the episode ends, Grover falls asleep. The next morning, Grover dives right back in. He listens to old episodes of Albert's podcast. And when his friends come by to work on their next podcast episode, Grover is eager to share his new discovery with them. I'm out, Wendell the bear says before Albert even finishes saying the word spooky. You know I don't like scary stuff, Grover. Thank you for your suggestion. I will stick to my daytime programming. The friends laugh, and Grover asks the others for their opinions. Nellie the turtle looks put off, and Denver the deer is entirely unimpressed. I'd rather listen to something about sports, Denver says. However, Nellie seems more opinionated. If I don't see it with my own eyes, I don't believe it, the turtle claims. I don't know who this Albert is or what Bigfoot looks like. In fact, nobody really does, Nellie explains. No, but that's not the point, Nellie, Grover counters. It's about the story. Don't you ever wonder what's out there while we're soundly asleep at night? Grover looks around the room with a big smile, but the group's unanimous response is a resounding, not really. Grover fails to convince his friends, but he remains fired up and confident in his belief. He wonders, how is this podcast not more popular? It has so much potential. Determined to help Albert, Grover begins sharing the podcast with everyone he knows. He even gives Albert the Owl a shout-out on his own podcast. However, the feedback is varied. For every animal that loves Albert's spooky tales, there are 5 others who claim they don't really care for it. Everyone has their own reasons. Some are frightened, some are skeptics, and some simply aren't interested in ghosts and the supernatural. After Grover did everything he could to promote the podcast and heard many opinions, he had an important realization. He finally understood that everyone is different. What's a hit with one group might be boring for another. Different animals have different tastes, and that's okay. Moreover, Grover stopped recommending the podcast to everyone. Instead, he reserved it for those he knew would appreciate it. In the end, Grover doesn't succeed in making Spooky Tales a hit, but not every good podcast has to be popular. As long as Albert's fans love it and Grover loves it, it doesn't have to draw in a huge audience. All that matters is that everyone goes their own unique way.